Hey guys, Miss Cooper here. This week you have 2 lessons in Edgenuity. You have your data unit test, and then you have a lesson on simple interest. So this is a concept that you have not yet learned with me, so I wanted to take time to introduce you to the concept. All right, so for interest, there's good interest and kind of bad interest, I guess you could say. So if you put money in the bank, you can earn interest. So basically you make more money. So if I put money into a savings account in the bank will pay me money since I have trusted them with my money. Now, if you borrow money from the bank, then you owe interest, which means that you have to pay the bank for their service, which is giving you the money that you needed. So when I borrowed money to purchase my vehicle, not only do I have to pay them back the money that I borrowed, but I have to pay them extra because they let me borrow it. Okay, so interest is good when you're earning it and you want to earn a lot of interest, right? So you make a lot more money. But when you're borrowing money, you want the interest to be low because you do not want to have to pay them back as much money, okay? So here's some of our vocabulary. So simple interest is interest paid only on the principal. So if I put $200 in the bank, and I leave it there for 10 years, I'm only ever going to earn money based on that $200 that I originally put in the bank. All right, compound interest is interest paid on the principal and the previous earned or paid interest. So what that means is if I put $200 in the bank and then in the first year I earn $10, okay, well now they're going to see it as now I have $210 and they're going to pay me interest based on that $210, not just based on the amount of money that I originally put in the bank. Okay, so for compound interest grows faster. So when I'm earning interest, like in a bank account, I would want compound interest, right? Because I would want to earn money faster. But when you're paying interest, so like if I bought a house, it's usually compound interest. And that means that I have to pay money on the amount. And if I borrow more, it builds. Or if I don't pay what I'm supposed to, I have additional interest. Or as time builds, then more interest accrues, okay? So again, if I'm earning money, then I want to do it faster, so I'm going to use compound interest. If I owe money, then simple interest would be better. But in the real world, most of it is compound interest when you are borrowing money. All right, so these are the 3 really important terms when calculating interest. All right, so one is principal. So principal is the initial amount borrowed, saved, or invested. So if I put $200 in the bank, that's my principal, the money that I put in the bank. If I borrow $30,000 for a car, that's the principal. That's the initial amount that I borrowed, okay? And then rate is your percent of interest written as a decimal, okay? So for example, and you think about Dr. Pepper, okay? So if I have, let's say, 20% interest rate, okay? Right now it's a percent, so I'm going to put my decimal by the P. So it's a percent, and I want it to be a decimal, so I need to get to the D. So I'm going to go left 2 places, okay? So from percent to decimal, you go to the left 2 places. So 20% written as a decimal is 0.2, okay? So just like that, the same as what if it's 5%? Okay, it's not going to be 0.5 because that's 50%. So I would go 2 places and I'd have to fill in a 0. So it would be 0.05. So when we are doing interest calculations, the percent, the rate, always needs to be changed into decimal form. And then years always has to be, or time, always has to be in years. So let's say, so it would be 2 if they say 2 years. But what if they say 6 months, right? 6 months is half of a year. So that would be 0.5. Or sometimes they say 18 months. Well, there's 12 months in a year. Plus 6 gets you 18 months. So 1.5 years. Okay, so you need to be able to think about parts of a year. Don't worry, I'm going to show you some examples. Well, I don't have any examples right now of the year part. So you just need to think that we're not thinking about months, we're thinking about years. So you need to convert it into years. So most of them that you would see is 6 months, which is half a year, or 18 months is 1.5. Sometimes they'll talk about it in terms of 24 months. Well, that's 12 and 12, right? So that's 2 years, okay? Let's go ahead and dive into some examples. So simple interest, we do have a formula, and it's right here on our formula chart. So at the bottom of the formula chart it says simple interest, I equals PRT. So the I stands for interest. The P stands for principal, which is what we just went over, which is your initial amount. R is your rate, which again has to be written in decimal form. So if they say it's 20%, it needs to be written as 0.2 in our equation. And then T is time, and our time is always written in years. Okay? So here's our examples. So it says example 1. Marta deposits $15,000 in an account with 7% simple interest. How much money will Marta's account balance be after 15 years? Okay, so simple interest means we're using our equation I equals PRT. Okay, so it is asking us for interest, so we are looking for, so how much will her account balance be? So we don't know about that yet. We'll have to figure it out, use our problem solving skills, but she deposits $15,000. So that's how much is going into it. So that's going to be my principal, so $15,000. And then my rate, it says 7%. So remember, we have to go from percent to decimal by going to the left 2 places. So we're going to plug in 0.07 and then our time. So after 15 years, that's already in terms of years, so time is 15. And look, they're all right next to each other, which means all we're going to do is multiply. So you can multiply in any order that you want. I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to do 15 times 0.07. 5 times 7 is 35. 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 numbers to the right of the decimal, 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So now I have 15,000 times 1.05. 5 times 0, 5 times 0, 5 times 0. 5 times 5 is 25. The 5 goes down, the 2 goes top. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 is 7. I'm on the second number, which is zeros. Now I'm on the third, so I have 2 placeholders, and then 1 times 0. So 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them up. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 5, 1. And there's 1, 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So 1, 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So I have $15,750. So that is going to be my interest. but it's asking me how much the account balance is. So the balance is, it says she deposited $15,000. So she put $15,000 in that bank account. And then she added the interest. Then we got that interest. So we're adding this $15,000, $15,700 to that. So 0, 5, 7, 5 plus 5 is 10, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So $30,000 is going to be my account balance. And that is because we took our principal of $13,000 and we added in our interest. So you do have to pay attention to, is it asking me for the interest, the amount of interest, or is it asking me for the new account balance? So do I need to add that principal back in? So here's another example. We have the following information is known about a loan. The time is 4 years. The interest rate is 3.1. The original amount of the loan is $1,200. So again, we have interest is principal times rate times time. The principal, it says, is $1,200. The rate is 3.1. So we go to the left 2 places. So 0.031 and 4 years. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 1,200 times 4. So 12 times 4 is 48. So 4,800 times 0.031. 0, 0, 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. 1, 2, because I'm on the second number. Or sorry, 1 because I'm on the second number. 2 zeros. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 4 is 12. 13, 14. Add them up. 0, 0, 8, 8, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right. So 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right. So my interest is 148.8. And it's asking here for the interest. So I do not need to add it to the principal because it is simply asking me for the interest. Okay, so I know I'm going a little bit fast, but I want to make sure to get some good examples in. You can rewind and go back, okay? So this one says the information is known about the loan. We have the time is 8 years. The interest rate is 14%. The interest is $840. What is the principal? Okay, so this one's a little different. So we have interest equals principal times rate times time. So instead of figuring out our interest, it's asking for the principal. It's asking for this right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fill in what we know. So I know that it's 8 years. I know that the rate is 14%. Move your decimal to the left, so it's 0.14. And I know that the interest is $840. So again, I am looking right here for my principal. So I'm going to go ahead and use the order of operations. I have 0.14 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 8, 9, 10, 11. 2 numbers to the right, so 2 numbers to the right. Oops, so I have 1.12 times my P equals 840. Okay, so think about if it was like 6 equals 2x, right? So I'd think about 2 times what gets me 6. So if I divided 6 by 2, I would get that x is 3. Oopsies. Darn it. I don't know what I just did. Hang on. Okay, so we're going to use that same concept. So we need to get P by itself. So we're going to divide by 1.12. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to pause. Okay, so if you make sure that you watch your decimal point, then our principal was $750. All right, next one, gonna do it super fast. So Bobby borrowed $500 at 12% simple interest. If he paid back $680 to pay the loan, how many years did it take him? Okay. So first you need to plug it in. So I'm going to pause. Take a quick look. We needed to find interest. This is how we did it. Ask if you need help.